So we can make a conclude that an operating system is a collection of programs that handle technical tasks. And the functions are, firstly, manage the computer resources. Secondly, to provide the user interface. Thirdly, to run the applications. While manage the computer resources, it contains the memory, the processing, the storage, some peripheral like printers and monitors, right? For example, it can monitor the system performance. It can schedule the tasks. It can provide the security. It can start up the computer. Okay. And then the user interface, of course. And about the applications, it provides multitask and foreground and background applications. So here, foreground applications means what you are now operating with. The background means you are now not operating with, but it is run in the background. Okay, both of them are controlled by the operating system. So here you may see multitask in our very first question. It is an option or functionality provided by the operating system, okay? So recall about that question in the beginning of our today's class. Okay, so let's check. We said in our very beginning the question, we said first we said multitask, and we also listed like several like multi-thread or multi-process. So what does this different keyword represents? So firstly, the multitask. It provides the process and memory management services that allow two or more tasks, jobs, or programs to run at the same time. And within a single program, so multi-thread only work within a single program. So the multi-thread allows multiple parts or threads to run at the same time. So one more important thing is that when we allowing the multitasking or multi-threading or multi-processing, one important thing for the operating system is that it should to prevent a memory leakage, because we have already said in our previous classes, the computer use finite space to represent the infinite word. So the memory is important, and the overflow is quite frequently occurred phenomenon in the computer. So one important thing of the operating system is that when multiple programs are running, it should to prevent a memory leak. That means when the instructions and data from one area of the memory overflow into the memory allocated to another program. Okay, so such kind of situation need to be prevented by the operating system. So then I showed here like several features of an operating system. I listed here using a Windows operating system as an example. So booting is a process of starting a computer. Okay, starting or restarting a computer. So in fact, we usually include two kinds of boots. The warm boots and the cool boots. Does anyone know the difference? Does any volunteer, any students know the difference? If there any students who know what's the difference between the warm boot and the cool boot? Anyone? Any volunteers know the difference between these two kinds of boots? Okay, Zhenni.
Yes.
Yeah.
Warm booting is the process of restarting a computer that was already on, and cold booting or cool booting is starting a computer that was not on initially.
Okay, yeah. That's almost. That's great. Thanks very much for your volunteering. The warm boot represents the computer is already on and you restart it without turning off the power, right? While the cool boot represents you start the computer when it has been turned off. But all these are controlled by our operating system. Okay. Then, in fact, I listed some features that is in common with application software. That is, these features are not only occurred in this operating system, but also in this application software. They are common features, okay? The common features in application software and the operating system. I listed several here. You can see in this figure, for any software, we have such kind of menu, okay? Here, like menu. And we may have some tab also here, some tab. And for any software, we have its window, right? We call this its window. So we have 4 windows here. And then in each window, we may have several folder. And in each folder, we may have several files. And on the desktop, okay, here we say all these, we call it desktop, okay? So on this desktop, we can see some icons to represent each software. Okay, so there are several common features like menu, like icons, like tab, like window and folder and files. I list here. So here the gesture control. It is the ability to control the operations with finger movements, okay, like sweeping, like sliding and pinching. Okay. So most operating systems store data and programs in system files, right, and folders, right? So the files and the folders are the files share data and programs, while the folders store related files. Okay. Okay, so the files share data and programs, while the folders store related files. It can be stored in the folders. We listed several features of operating system. And now let's check about the user interface. So the user interface is a combination of hardware and software that helps people and computer communicate with each other. So for example, in nowadays, this is a Windows user interface representation. And this is we use command line user interface. Okay, so in this command line user interface, it requires user to type some commands here to register the folder or the file or accomplish different tasks. So you print or type in a lot of commands here. But in this such kind of like Windows user interface, we have a lot of icons. Okay, it can represent the programs or some documents or some data files, entities, storage area, or hardware. All of these can be represented here by icons, some different icons. And here we have the start menu here. Okay, so we use this start menu to run programs. You can by click here and so as to run any programs, or you can search any files or programs through here, or you can access the configuration settings and getting some help through here. Okay. And we also use some taskbars. For example, here we have such kind of taskbars. So you can contain some start button here or some some program icons that are executed, or you can set some notification buttons or icons here. They all can be shown in such kind of taskbar. Okay, so this is we have already said this is, we call it a window, right? So a window is a rectangle window, a rectangle shape, usually in a rectangle shape. And they are working areas in which different programs display the documents, the graphics, and some tests, some contents, or other specific data. So this is how user interface represented in our computer provided by the operating system. And we may say here, for each application or for each software, for each programs, it may have some buttons. It may have some menu bar, the toolbar, taskbar, and the ribbons, as I listed here. Okay. I think all these are very frequently used in your daily life. And I also showed here, this is a Mac operating system, okay? So in the Mac operating system, you also may check the menu options through a symbol like this. You may get further menu, okay? And you may get some sub-menu through here. Okay, so in our operating system, when we, for example, when we click something like here, we call it a dialog box launcher. If you click such kind of dialog box launcher, you may get such kind of dialog box for more options to choose. Okay. So such kind of dialog boxes appear when you select the corresponding menu items from these ribbons or from a menu, okay? Similar here, okay? If we click some menu items, it's similar. We may get a dialog box. So we may say there are three basic categories of the operating systems. We can categorize them into three basic types. The first type is the embedded operating system, which is used for the handheld devices, which is also used for this real-time operating system. We say it is RTOS in short, the real-time operating system for these handheld devices. For example, your smartphones, your smartwatches, your video game systems, all these are embedded operating system. The second type would be the standalone operating system. We also call them like desktop operating system, like your Windows, desktop operating systems, which control a single desktop computer. Okay. And the third is supposed to be the network operating system, linked the computers. It control and coordinate netted computers. The operating is stored on the network server. Okay, for example, it's like Windows Server. The operating coordinates all the computers between the other computers. So we may categorize the operating system into three types, three basic categories. So this is also quite important.